All right, all right. First and foremost, we want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory unto the Most High God, Yahweh. We do so in the name of His only begotten Son, who the world calls Christ, Yahweh Shai. It's your brother, Chief Priest, Oliver Lawyer, aka the Gorilla Hebrew. This is going to be the sixth part in the finale, at least for now, at least for this season of Viva Yasharahla, where we focus on our brothers who are indigenous to North, Central, and South America through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. This certainly isn't the last overall that we'll do. Like I said, we'll just probably call it season one. And as we, revisit and, put together more and more information through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, we'll go into it. I encourage you, if you have not watched the previous installments of the Viva Yasharahla series, if this is the first one you're watching, go back and watch it. All you got to literally do is go on YouTube and type in the hashtag Viva Yasharahla, one word. All right, VIVAYASHARAHLA. All you got to do, and the other five, and including this one, will all pop up through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. You can watch all this. Okay, a lot of very profound information, some information that has never been heard and presented in the way that it has been over the course of this series. So it is of the utmost importance for the Hebrew Israelites of the various 12 tribes to go watch and download this information into your memory banks so you can utilize it in substantiating the truth and teaching the people and combating heresies and gainsayers and naysayers. Okay, all through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. So it's very important that these things get done. I hope y'all go back and watch the earlier 5 installments. Again, this is part 6. This is part 6. All right. Also coming up, we're gonna have another series dealing with Israelite foreigners of the 12 tribes scattered abroad, meaning we're going to be focusing on Israelite tribes that exist outside of the Americas. Okay, we understand that the Americas is the main location for an ultimate judgment that's coming to this world, being Babylon the Great. We understand that this is the main place in which the Israelites were scattered here in these last days, the Americas, us the so-called blacks and Hispanics. But the 12 tribes of Israel were scattered to the 4 corners of the earth. That also must be understood, meaning what? There's Israelites all over the place outside of just the Americas. Okay, so we're also going to do a series focusing on some of the 12 tribes that are scattered abroad, brothers in Africa, brothers in Asia, brothers in Arabia, brothers in the islands of the sea, etc. We're going to be focusing on those in an upcoming series, so look out for that. All again through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. All right, so let's get started. Next slide. Okay, so first, before we get started, many of y'all may have got me on Instagram, on Facebook. You may have seen these. I put the teaser out. All right. Coming out on urbangorilla.com. That's URBNGRLA.com. You can get the shirts that were made in conjunction with this series, in honor of this series through the Spirit of the Most High. The Viva Yasharahla shirts. We see here the gorilla with the Aztec, with like a mingled Aztec and Native American headdress on. There's 4 colors you see there. There's also, I want to say, at least 2 more colors that aren't there. We also have it in women's and we have it in infants. Okay, so urbangorilla.com, and you can grab those. Okay, in honor of this, in honor of this series, and also just, you know, the word when you see the Viva, as they say it in Spanish, Viv as they say it in the Creole, or as you may say it in English, survive. It all goes back to that one Latin word, which essentially means to survive, right? To long live. It's a form of praising something. So we're saying long live our nation, the nation of Israel, right? It's very common amongst Latinos, especially the tribe of Issachar, the so-called Mexicans, you know, Viva Mexico, Viva la Raza, things like that, right? Which means, you know, long live our nation, long live our race. Praise to our race. And that's what this shirt is inspired by, through the Spirit of the Most High. So urbangorilla.com, you can grab those. I'm not technically opening or launching until Thursday, the 13th, but honestly, y'all can go, if y'all hear this, y'all can go and grab these right now if you want. Nothing stopping you. There's no block on the page. You can go right to the page and get the order in these right now if you like. All right, but the technical launch date is this Thursday, so look out for that. But I want to give y'all this information now. So all praise Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. Okay, next slide. So as y'all can see, these are the previous ones. Again, like I was saying before we started, check these out. All the other ones, again, Ephraim is a cake not turned. Latinos and natives were enslaved, lynched, and segregated to Jesus in the Americas, the Mayan Bible, and Issachar. Make sure to check all those out through the Spirit of the Most High. A lot of powerful and most profound information, and a lot of information that has never been heard before, all through the Spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua is presented on these installments. So it's important, again, that y'all go back and y'all watch these things, man. Y'all got to watch, right? Okay, we ain't just doing this for nothing. We're doing this so you can be edified, so you can have this information, so you can be armed with the necessary spiritual, historical, archaeological, and scientific tools to combat, and also most importantly, to edify the nation and teach them who they are. All right, this is for these idiots that go out and say, "Oh, the 12 tribes breakdown is predicated upon a cultural stereotype." No, it's not. Okay. Viva Yasharahla, watch this series and then look at me and tell me it is. Right? And anybody trying to dispute anything that we have to understand, any of the understanding we have, be it the 12 tribe chart, who the Israelites are, etc. Anybody, here's what you tell them. You direct them right to the Viva Yasharahla series and you tell them, debunk it point for point. If they can't debunk this point for point, I don't even want to talk to you about nothing. It's too much. There is a mountain of information through the Spirit and power of the Most High that's been presented over the course of this series. So if you can't debunk this point for point, we have nothing to talk about. You're going to have to concede, or we just going to have to agree to disagree, brother. That's simple, right? Next slide. So now, who remember this? Y'all remember this Disney movie came out? The Road to El Dorado, right? You see they had the over-sexualized indigenous woman there, all right? All you see, they got her riding the horse with the 2 white men. See all this sickness that's going on, which is a reflection of the actual sickness that went on over the course of the conquest. The over-sexualization of the indigenous woman. Okay, the exploitation, the sexual exploitation of the indigenous woman by the sick, freak, European, Spaniard, Edomite. This happened, right? And we see allusions to it in this supposedly children's cartoon, right? Which is called The Road to El Dorado. A lot of us remember this, right? A lot of us remember this whole concept of El Dorado. Next slide. Who remember this movie? The Emperor's New Groove, Emperor Cusco, right? Indigenous emperor who was played and portrayed and voiced by David Spade, a pale blonde white man. The irony and the atrocity in that is, I don't even want to talk about, right? But y'all remember this movie too. The interesting thing is Disney culturally exploited our brothers of the tribe of Asher, who are the founders of the Inca Empire, 2 times. Really more than 2 times, because there were some sequels for this. I believe they had a cartoon for the Emperor's New Groove and all that. They had Kronk's New Groove. They made a lot of this franchise, right? Well, El Dorado and all the Emperor's New Groove stuff is all based off of one civilization that existed in South America. This civilization is called the Inca Empire, right? One of the greatest, arguably the greatest, between the Inca, the Maya, and the Aztec empires. And it was based predominantly in Peru, headed by the tribe of Asher, okay? The Inca people and certain other peoples that they called their names by. These are all the Asherites, the tribe of Asher. They were there. The empire stretched into Colombia, Ecuador, and Brazil even, okay? So that's what all this comes from. And we see Disney exploited our people, exploited their history, and made a killing off of 2 different franchises. That's the Road to El Dorado franchise and Emperor's New Groove franchise. And also, just to be honest, you could probably even put the Atlantis movies they made, which I want to say they have about 2 of those, and even kind of tie it into this, because this is kind of what it's based off of as well. Even though the concept of Atlantis does come from Homer and the Greeks, a lot of people hypothesize that Atlantis was in reference to the Americas, and things of that nature. So when you go back and you watch the actual movie of Atlantis, what you come to find out is the way they have the people and the culture of the people depicted is eerily similar to various pre-Columbian American civilizations, i.e. Aztec, Maya, Inca, right? So they made a whole lot of money off the exploitation of our people. All right, we're talking about billions, right? And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about the empire, where they get this from. Next slide. So here is a drawing of the Inca Empire, where they got all this from, okay? The Inca Empire is a very interesting empire. Much of the Inca Empire now is covered in a dense jungle. It's just totally been overgrown with a dense jungle. A lot of it they can't even see unless they get in the airplane to fly over it, because you can literally be walking next to some of the most marvelous and magnificent megalithic ruins in the world, and you wouldn't even know it because of how covered it is with dense forest and jungle. They say that South and Central American jungle is the densest and most unnavigable jungle in the world, okay? Down there in Central and South America. Okay, it's been totally overrun. But when our people were running it, we had a civilization there. But since the white man has came and conquered our people and destroyed our people and left to ruin these great empires that our people built, it's just been totally overgrown with this dense jungle. And the white man does not have the tools in him to be able to navigate these things. So he just left it and gave it over to ruin. But this was an amazing place, the Inca Empire. Again, there's debate as to which empire was greater, Aztec, Mayan, or Inca, but there is no question as to what empire was richer, okay? What do I mean by richer? I mean by who had more gold. The Inca Empire had the most gold probably that you've ever heard of. There's no place that has had gold in the abundance that the Inca Empire had. There's no place documented as of right now that had gold in the abundance that the Inca Empire had. This is very important to understand. Gold in the Inca Empire, like we all saw Black Panther. Gold in the Inca Empire was like vibranium in Wakanda. It was everywhere. They had so much gold, they didn't even have to mine the gold. Most places, they got to set up a gold mine. right? And they have to go and dig and find the gold. No, the gold is just out there. Gold, they had so much gold that it wasn't even important or valuable to them. It was just gold. It was like dirt. They had so much of it. This is important to understand, right? That's how much gold in abundance they had. It wasn't even like the commodity to them. It wasn't rare because that's what gives gold its value is its rarity, right? Even diamonds, what gives diamonds their value is their rarity. But the thing about diamonds is they control the flow of diamonds into the world in Antwerp. If they let all the diamonds that they had out, a diamond will be worth $10. I'm sure many of us have heard that before, right? So a diamond really isn't all that valuable because there's a lot of them. So in order to put value on them, they control and stifle the flow of diamonds, so everybody doesn't have all of it, right? Because if they were all out, they were worth $10. Well, that's how gold was in the Inca Empire. It was worth $10. That's essentially the equivalent. Really wasn't worth much because there was so much of it. And this is where you get these legends, the legend of El Dorado, right? And you hear about the legend of El Dorado, and you go, yeah, there's some great golden city that everyone's on the search for. But that was the myth that the white man created to talk about America. This is the place that white men from Europe came over and found gold every damn where. America, all of the Americas, North, Central, and South, were El Dorado, was the golden city, which is very interesting, right? Next slide. So now, let's go here to 1 Kings 9:25-28. It reads, and three times in the year did Solomon offer burnt offerings and peace offerings upon the altar which he built unto Yahweh, and he burnt incense upon the altar that was before Yahweh. So he furnished the house. And King Solomon made a navy ship in Ezion-Geber, which is beside Elo on the shore of the Red Sea in the land of Edom. And Hiram sent in the navy his servants, shipmen that had knowledge of the sea, with the servants of Solomon. And they came to Ophir and fetched from thence gold, 420 talents, and brought it to King Solomon. So they went to some place called Ophir, and they would get a gang of gold and bring it back to King Solomon. A gang of gold was got in this place, Ophir. Now, Ophir, when you do your history on it, when you do your research on it, you'll find out that the location of Ophir is of great debate, and nobody knows for sure where it is. Some people have said it's in Arabia. Some people have said it's in Asia. Some people say it's in Africa. Some people say it's in Europe. But a lot say it's in Peru, right? And Peru would be like the leading place that Jewish historians believe it is, in Peru, right? Which is very interesting, right? Because that's where the Inca Empire was, Peru. That's where they had gold in so much abundance that it was damn near not of value in Peru, right? Next slide. So now, it's 1 Kings 10:21. And all King Solomon's drinking vessels were of gold, and all the vessels of the house and of the forest of Lebanon were of pure gold. None were of silver. It was nothing accounted of in the days of Solomon. That's how much abundantly Solomon possessed gold. That gold was nothing. Everything in his house was gold, and gold ain't even a big deal. Historic estimates say that King Solomon's empire, between his golden houses and his golden vessels and his golden lions and everything he had gold, was worth the equivalent today to $60 trillion. Look it up. $60 trillion. But where in the hell was he getting all this gold? We just read about it. From Ophir. Ophir, the same place many historians believe to be the modern country of Peru, where the Inca Empire was based. Ophir. What's interesting, as we just read in the previous slide, they would go 1 in 3 years. What does them going 1 in 3 years indicate? That it would take a year and a half for them to get to where they were going and a year and a half for them to get back. Coincidentally enough, when the northern kingdom leaves Assyria, they go on a journey, and over the course of that journey, it takes them how long? A year and a half. They don't come back. The place where we say that is Arshrif, which is the Americas. And when they got here, they found all kind of great gold. Again, like the question that's been going over the course of all of these presentations is that a coincidence? Do we simply write that off as chance, coincidence, doesn't make sense, or, it's just a strange happenstance? Or do we see a very vivid picture being painted that the Israelites left Assyria, came over here to the Americas, and founded great empires on the place in which that Solomon's navy would come and fetch gold from? Doesn't that make sense? Let's go to the place where Solomon used to get all that gold from. Maybe that's the place where we should go. Nobody lives there. So here it is, they arrive there and they begin to formulate empires. Again, the Inca, the Aztec, the Maya, right? Next slide. Ophir. Let's further understand what Ophir is, how we identify this place. The word Ophir in the Hebrew means reduced to ashes. That's what Ophir means in the Hebrew. Reduced to ashes. That's very interesting. Reduced to ashes. Where is a place that's going to be reduced to ashes? We got to ask ourselves. Next slide. Now let's take a look at this. 2 Peter 2:6. And turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemned them with an overthrow, making them an example unto those that after should live ungodly. So we know a place that was emphatically reduced to ashes in the Bible is Sodom and Gomorrah. We know that. Their ungodliness, their sexual immorality, their fornication, and all forms of debauchery and madness that they practiced in Sodom and Gomorrah led to their utter destruction, where they were reduced to ashes. Interesting. Next slide. Now, Isaiah 13:19. And Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. So we know that the modern day mystery Babylon will also be overthrown like Sodom and Gomorrah. We know Sodom and Gomorrah was reduced to ashes. We know Ophir means reduced to ashes. We also know that Babylon is called the Golden City. El Dorado, the Golden City. The legend, the myth that was fed to the European to come over to the Americas and rape, rob, murder, exploit, and steal from the indigenous people here who had gold and riches and other resources in abundance. Are the dots being connected through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua right now? I think all the dots are being very plainly connected that Ophir is the Americas. Ophir is the place that will prophetically be reduced to ashes. It is Babylon. It is the Golden City. Nothing else makes sense, right or wrong. From a biblical perspective, what else makes sense? What other location? How is it that they say it was in Arabia, right? They say it might be in Arabia. How is it that if it's in Arabia, how do we lose track of Ophir? We know that in Arabia, you got Seba, the Sabians. You got Yemen down there. You got Saudi. You mean to tell me they don't know where Ophir is at? They know where everything in Arabia is at except Ophir? Huh? Asia. Where in Asia do they have this abundance of gold? Right? Now, maybe Africa. Some say Zimbabwe, but nowhere in Zimbabwe did they have an entire place of gold the way they had in Peru, where they had gold just every damn where, and it was not valuable. There's no evidence of anything like that. The closest thing they had to that is Timbuktu, right? But Timbuktu is a place that don't rise until way later on, after the Israelites get kicked out and exiled from Israel and migrate into West Africa. Because that was our empire, the Mali Empire, that the tribe of Judah established in West Africa. So you can't say it was Timbuktu. That's the only other viable golden city that exists in the annals of history. Y'all can look that up as well. You have El Dorado, and then you have something called the El Dorado in Africa, which is Timbuktu. And I'm going to tell you what's also interesting about both of those things. Everybody knows about Mansa Musa, right? We've all heard about Mansa Musa, the richest man to ever exist, right? Or as they say. I will argue that it's Solomon and Mansa Musa was number two. Either way, both so-called black men, both brothers from the tribe of Judah, right? Cool. Here's what's interesting about Mansa Musa. How Mansa Musa came into power was he inherited the throne that was vacated by his older brother. His older brother, who go by the name of Abu Bakr II, right? Or I believe his also name is Mansa, Mansa something, because the word Mansa means um, sultan. So it was Mansa something. I need, let me look it up real quick. Let me look it up real quick. I want to be able to cite this for y'all. It's very important information. Abu Bakr. Hold on. Abu Bakr, my fault. Abu Bakr II. That's his name, Mansa Q, right? Mansa Q. So you got this dude, Mansa Q. Now here's what's interesting about Mansa Q. Here's what they say about him, right? Because they believe, because he vacated the throne of his brother, to his brother. And he said, look, I believe that this Atlantic Ocean, I believe this ain't the end of the world. And I think there's something on the other side of this thing. And I want to get to it. What he said. So he left the throne, gave it to his brother, right? And it says, the ruler who preceded me did not believe that it was impossible to reach the extremity of the ocean that encircles the earth, meaning the Atlantic, and wanted to reach that end and obstinately persisted in the design. So he equipped 200 boats full of men, like many others, full of gold, water, and victuals sufficient enough for several years. He ordered the chief not to return until they had reached the extremity of the ocean, or if they had exhausted the previous the provisions and the water. They set out their absence extended over a long period, and at last only one boat returned. On questioning, the captain said, Prince, we have navigated for a long time until we saw in the midst of the ocean a big river was flowing violently. My boat was the last one. Others were ahead of me. As soon as any of them reached this place, it was drowned in the whirlpool and never came out. I sailed backwards. I escaped the current, but the Sultan would not believe him. He ordered 2,000 boats to be equipped for him and for his men, and 1,000 more for water and victuals. Then he conferred on me the regency during his absence and departed with his men on the ocean trip, never to return nor to give a sign of life. Right. So some say that he didn't make it. Right. But you had a lot of Afrocentric scholars like Ivan Van Sertima. If y'all are familiar with the conscious community, you would know that Ivan Van Sertima is highly regarded as a scholar in the conscious community. Brother from the tribe of Benjamin, I believe he is. Is he a doctor? Does he have his doctor's degree? I don't know if he has his doctorate degree, but he's certainly an accomplished dude. He has his college degrees, and he is a professor and things of that nature. He believes that Abu Bakr actually did make it to the Americas. I've even heard certain Moorish dudes further that Abu Bakr made it to the Americas. So what's interesting is you have the only two golden cities were both ruled by Israelites, and legend has it that the one tried to reach the other. And some contend that the one did reach the other, right? But next slide. So now what's interesting here is when we deal with a place being reduced to ashes in reference to Salaka, in reference to a Ophir, right? A place being reduced to ashes, and we see the parallels between Ophir, between Babylon, and things of that nature. We have a prophecy that kind of brings all of it full circle. So let's read this. Joel 2 and starting at verse 3. A fire devours before them, and behind them a flame burneth. Right? What does fire and flame do? Turn something into ashes. The land is as the Garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness. This is what's interesting. The land is as the Garden of Eden before them, and behind them a desolate wilderness. Eden, right? What do we know Eden for being? Number one, the Hebrew word Eden, the Idan, means paradise. We know it for being paradisic, right? That's what Eden means. So we know that America, the pre-Columbian America, meaning before the white man came America, was a paradise, a place where people lived in abundance and built great empires, right? Namely the Inca, the Aztec, the Maya, but all over the place, all over the Americas. You have the indigenous peoples living off of more than enough resources, right? It says Eden before them, Salakia, and behind them a desolate wilderness. Yea, nothing shall escape them. The appearance of them is as the appearance of horses, and as horsemen so shall they run, like the noise of chariots on the tops of mountains shall they leap, like the noise of a flame of fire that devoureth the stubble, as a strong people set in battle array. Before their face the people shall be much pain. All faces shall gather blackness. They shall run like mighty men. They shall climb like the wall of men of war. This is dealing with the nuclear missiles that are destined to destroy America. And they shall march every one on his ways, and they shall not break their ranks. Neither shall one thrust another, right? Because they're programmed to hit their targets and not knock into each other, right? They shall walk every one in his own path, and when they fall upon the sword, they shall not be wounded, meaning America's nuclear defense system will be insufficient at preventing the imminent doom and destruction of the Americas. They shall run to and fro in the city. They shall run upon the wall. They shall climb up upon the houses. They shall enter in at the windows like a thief. The earth shall shake before them. The heavens shall tremble. The sun and moon shall be dark, and the stars shall withdraw their shining, meaning as a result of the ashes and the thick black smoke that is going to arise after the thermonuclear missiles hit their targets here in the Americas. You're not going to be able to see the sun. Okay, right? Next slide. So, real quick, so some further information in regards to, matter of fact, go back real quick. The previous slide real quick. So just to bring it full circle again, Ophir means reduced to ashes. This is the place where they got gold. It was once as the Garden of Eden, but will what be reduced to ashes, as it's said to in the Hebrew. And this place is describing America, how America was as the Garden of Eden, but it will be reduced to ashes through thermonuclear destruction that it's identifying as horsemen that burn, right? So next slide. So now, this is just further proof here via Desert News. An American explorer says that he has found 3 ancient stone tablets in Peru's highland jungle that may prove the area was the site of King Solomon's legendary gold mines. The explorer, Jean Savoy, said in an interview the tablets contain the first writing found from the ancient civilization of the Andes, and that the inscriptions are similar to Phoenician and Semitic hieroglyphs. So they found these 3 big ass stone tablets that had seemingly Paleo-Hebrew inscriptions on them. Okay? What's interesting is there's a plethora of sources that speak about this in Jean Savoy's various excursions and explorations throughout the Americas. This is not just something that's made up. But the thing is, the photographs of many of his explorations are not readily available online. So I was not able to get the photographs of this, but there are several accredited sources, news sources, non-biased parties that have attested to viewing the photographs. But these articles came out in the 80s and they did not have these photographs readily available in their publications. But various people have attested to seeing these photographs of tablets with seemingly Paleo-Hebrew inscriptions upon them, okay? Reason why I don't have the photographs, these photographs are not on the internet, all right? So the sources that I found on this, you can see it in the Desert Times, the New York Times, etc. These sources, again, are basically chronicled newspaper articles from the 80s that they have digitized, that they never put the original photograph in the original news article to begin with. So this is why we don't have those readily available now. All right, but we have, again, multiple eyewitnesses that say they have seen these actual photographs, and these are from non-biased parties, okay? So I just want to make sure that's clear. So next slide. So now it says, during the 16th to 17th centuries, Europeans, still fascinated by the New World, believed that a hidden city of immense wealth existed. This legend of El Dorado, the myth that became the Americas, the legend of El Dorado. Numerous expeditions were mounted to search for this treasure, because these white people want to get rich. What's crazy is when you read about a lot of these conquistadors that came over here and they got rich off of rape, rob, murdering our brothers of the Northern Kingdom. When you read about a lot of these guys, you'll find out that a lot of these guys were nobodies, were broke, were the bottom of Spanish and Portuguese society. They were able to just hop on a ship and come over here and make themselves filthy, rotten rich and get immortalized in history books. Crazy, right? But here's why. I'm going to show y'all this. This is Genesis 36 and 10. The names, these are the names of Esau's sons, Eliphaz. Eliphaz is the name of Esau's first son. And I believe that this sums up the mindset of many Edomites, him being the chief of the Edomites. The Hebrew meaning of Eliphaz, if you were to Strong's H464, you'll read it. It says, my God is gold. Ali Yafaz, right? My God is gold. Meaning literally, their God is gold. That's what they worship. That's what they're about. Gold and the acquisition of gold, or in a wider sense, money, monetary, things of that nature. That's what they're all about. That's what the white man is all about. It's what he's always been about. So when he hears the Americas be mythologized as El Dorado, or to say, oh, if you come over here, there's this great golden city. No, it's the whole place. This whole place has such an abundance of people and resources that you could exploit and steal from. You need to come over here and you get rich. That's what the American dream is. The American dream is that a white man can come over here and rape, rob, and murder indigenous people and make themselves rich and go down in history and be immortalized in the history books. That's what this thing is about, because that's what their God is. It's what they're seeking. They're seeking monetary gain. That's what their whole life is about. So that's why they were so enticed by this legend of El Dorado, this legend of the Golden City, this legend of these people who were so peaceful and kind and had such abundant resources that it would just be easy as hell to walk into their village and begin to kill them and rape their women and molest their children and steal their goods. Right? Next slide. So now let's go to Genesis 49:20. It says, out of Asher, his bread shall be fat, he shall yield royal dainties. Remember, Asher, or much of South America from Colombia to Uruguay, right? With the exception of Argentina and Chile. So all of South America, with the exception of Argentina and Chile, is the tribe of Asher. The chief place that falls in there is Peru, where the Inca Empire is, right? Or was, right? Right. So again, it says, out of Asher, his bread shall be fat, and he shall yield royal dainties. Next slide. So this is the word for royal dainties here. It's H5727, and it means to luxuriate or paradise, because it's the same word Adon, right? The same word Adon. Coincidentally enough, we read in Joel 2, it said what? It as the Garden of Eden before then. Again, Eden is the word Adon. So it said that Asher would have this paradisic-like land that they would possess. It would be like paradise with its resources. Then we see Joel speaking about it being like paradise, but it's going to have to be utterly wasted and destroyed. See what I'm saying? It's going to be, as it says, Ophir, burned or reduced to ashes, even though it was the golden city, right? Because even when you deal with ancient Babylon, you had the capital city of Babylon, but then you had all of its various subsidiaries. And that's what the Americas are. The Babylon is like the USA, but Canada, Mexico, and all the subsidiaries, all this really is the extended kingdom of Babylon. Because the white man, the American white man in particular, is setting up the puppet governments that control all these other countries 9 times out of 10 anyway, with the exception of just a few. Cuba, Venezuela, and then the Russian white man setting up puppets in Brazil. But for the most part, the white man passively is in control of all of the countries in the Americas, period. Period. And that's how all this thing works. That's how everything ties in together, right? Next slide. This is Deuteronomy 33 and 24 to 25. And it says, and of Asher, he said, let Asher be blessed with children. Let it be acceptable to his brethren. Let him dip his foot in oil. Thy shoes shall be iron and bronze, and as thy days, so shall thy strength be. Right? So it's talking about the strength and the great might that Asher would possess. And that was clear in the Inca Empire. And it also says, let thy shoes, what should it say? Let thy shoes be iron and brass. This is talking about you being fastened in place, you being held in place, right? And if you take a look at how the Spaniards ran through the Aztec Empire, how they ran through the Mayan Empire, it wasn't as easy for them to overcome the Incas. They had to mount several attacks, several campaigns over the course of decades before they finally considered the Incas conquered. The Aztecs, they came right in and got it. The Mayans, they came right in. But dealing with our brothers in the Inca Empire, it was harder. Why? Because as the scriptures say, their shoes shall be iron and brass. They were fastened in place. So they had a more difficult time conquering that empire than they did other peoples in North, Central, and South America. Right? So next slide. Because now what we're going to do, let's take a look real quick at Reuben real quick. Because we just read about how great and the magnificence of the Incan Empire, how hard it was for them to conquer the Inca. Now I want to juxtapose the Inca, the tribe of Asher, from the tribe of Reuben, who are the Seminole Indian, right? Now it says, Genesis 49, 3-4, it says, Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might and the beginning of my strength and excellency of my dignity, right? So these are dignified people. This is why they didn't just lay down and they fought the white man as long and as hard as they did. And technically to this very day are still at war with the United States government, right? Because they have dignity. They weren't just going to lay down. They were going to sign them treaties, right? Then it says, in the excellency of power, unstable as water, thou shalt not excel, because thou wentest up to thy father's bed, that then defilest thou it, he went up to my couch. So Jacob is telling Jacob the prophet, our forefather Yaquab, whose name was changed to Israel, Yasharahla. He told his firstborn son Reuben, he said, but because you went up to my couch, means he had sex with his concubine. Because you did that, you're not going to excel. I'm not going to kill you like you're supposed to do in adultery, but instead, the lineage that comes out of you, the children that you have, they're not going to excel, right? That's the disposition Reuben is faced with. So what does that mean? They're not going to excel. Next slide. Excel, this is the Hebrew word for excel, Strong's H3498. It says to show excess, have more than enough, have excess, to excel, show preeminence. Now, juxtaposing the tribe of Reuben, or the Seminole Indian, from the tribe of Asher, the Inca Empire that we just read about, we Salakia. We see the excess that the Inca had. We see the abundance of gold that they had that you didn't even have to mine. They had so much of it in this great golden city. And they, number one, they were an empire, right? Just like Aztecs were an empire, just like the Mayan were an empire. You had empires of the Native Americans here in America and as well as elsewhere. Seminoles didn't have an empire. They were just a band of a loosely organized bunch of Native Americans that was just all up and down the coast of Florida. So they didn't have this great abundance, this excess. They didn't have more than enough. They had enough, but they didn't have more than enough, and they certainly didn't excel or show preeminence. They didn't excel and show preeminence against the tribe of Gad, which are the other Native Americans, or any of the other tribes. So that's just juxtaposing, showing you the differences here and how these prophecies through the Spirit fit exactly who we say they do, through the Spirit and power of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. Right? Next slide. I want to go into some other tribes as well. This being the finale, I'm going to just go into a few quick tidbits in regards to some of the other tribes. Okay, in regards to some of the other tribes. Hold on, Salakia. So yeah, okay. So Genesis 49:13, it reads, Zebulun shall dwell at the haven of the sea, and shall be a haven of ships, and his border shall be unto Zidon. Right? Remember, a haven of ships, border to Zidon. Next slide. As we can see here, border to Zidon. Who are the Zidonians? Now, first, before I deal with the Zidonians, let's just look at the right. The right is a tribe of the map of the ancient 12 tribes of Israel. As we can see, Zebulun is not on the sea. It's landlocked. It's not neighboring Zidon. It neighbors Issachar, Naphtali, Asher, and Manasseh. Right? It does not neighbor or border Zidon, nor is it a haven of ships due to the fact that it's landlocked. But as we can see here, to the left, we see a map of the Mayan Empire, how it's bordered by the Olmec Empire, and then on the other side of the Olmec Empire is the Aztec Empire. Right? Its border shall be to Zidon. Who were the Zidonians? They were Olmecs that came over here to the Americas after our brothers came over here, because they, just like us, knew how to get over here. They even assisted us in getting over here. All right. When Solomon used to send the navy out, then of course Issachar and Zebulun navigated by the signs that the Most High put according to 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter, and that's how we got over here. Later, a group of Zidonians also came over here. Those people would be who you would know as the Olmecs. So that's how Zebulun bordered to Zidon. All right, so you can understand. Next slide. Now watch this. Deuteronomy 33 and 20. And of Gad he said, blessed be he that enlargeth Gad. He dwelleth as a lion, and teareth the arm with the crown of the head. So it says, Gad shall teareth the arm with the crown of the head. Very interesting, right? Keep that in mind. Crown of the head. Next slide. Now, what does this mean? Tear up the crown of the head. It's Strong's 86936, and it means head, crown of head, top of head, hairy crown, scalp. So it means a scalp. So let's just take the Old English off of it. Teareth the scalp. Before I even go to the next slide, does this sound familiar to anybody? Tearing somebody's scalp. Who's known for doing that? Next slide. I'll tell you who's known for doing it. The Native American Indian. Coincidentally enough, the Native American Indians, who we say the tribe of Gad is. They say Gad is going to tear the scalp. Right? What do we see our brothers have? Scalps of people on them sticks. What's interesting is you see that little black one down there too? This was an image that they created also of a member of their tribe. You see, she's darker with an afro hair texture. Going into what we brought out in part 1 of this series, that there was a variance in diversity and looks amongst the indigenous peoples of the Americas before the white man got over here. Okay? Going into that next slide. There's another depiction of the Native American tearing the crown of the head, tearing the scalp, just as the Bible said they would. You ain't gonna really find too many other references of scalping in the whole world. That's a very unique thing that the Native American is known for. It's barely written about as a practice anywhere else. But are we going to chalk this up to coincidence as well? Not to mention that these people wear fringes, and not to mention that Chief Joseph was walking around with an Assyrian tablet that he said was handed down from his ancestors. Not to mention that the image that someone called the shield or the Star of David was prevalent amongst their tribes. Not to mention the Las Lunas stone. Not to mention the Bat Creek stone. I mean, I could go on. Not to mention they jump around the fire and chant, yeah, how, not to mention that, right? We're just going to rule all that out as a coincidence, right? Not to mention that the Cherokee have a legend amongst themselves that a group of the Sicarii fled from Jerusalem and came over there. Not to mention that. We're just going to chalk all that up as a coincidence, right? You be a goddamn fool to think there's that much coincidence in the world. All praise Yahweh Shem Yahushua, that the elect will not be deceived. Next slide. Deuteronomy 33 and 23 now. And of Naphtali he said, O Naphtali, satisfied with favor, and full with the blessings of Yahweh, possess thou the west and the south. We have to understand is, for whatever reason, the King James they translated it, possess them the west and the south. I don't know what motivated them to translate it and render it as that, but that's an improper translation. Any of y'all can go look up that word for west right now. In the Hebrew, what you see, it means sea. That's what it means, sea. He said that's the sea of the south. But, or so to understand that, we need to understand what the sea of the south is. Next slide. It's a map of the world. Map of the world. Y'all notice. I hope y'all know how to tell which shape is what on there. Right? You got to be astute in studying a map and understanding how a map works. right? Geography is very important to understand. As y'all can see to the left, next to the word map, you see that orange country? That's Argentina. You see that lighter orange country next to it? That's Chile. You see how far down that stretches? Now look at the rest of the map, and what you'll notice is there is nothing else on that map that's further south of that, then Antarctica, where nobody lives, and nobody can live, right? It's not sustainable. So the furthest south part in the sea of the world, is Argentina and Chile. The Bible says that Naphtali will possess the South Sea. That's the South Sea where Argentina and Chile is at, because they meet right there at the furthest southern point in the world before you get to the damn ice block continent of Antarctica. As you can see, nothing is further south than that. What's funny is you have people who are trying to make these heathen Polynesian, Micronesian, and Melanesians Naphtalites. And they go, see, they go possess the South Seas. Argentina and Chile is further south than any of them islands. What does that let me know? That lets me know who Naphtali is, the indigenous Argentinian Chileans, right? We know Argentina is overrun, all kind of white people from Spain, Germany, Italy. Then it came over to Argentina. And the Israelite population of Argentina is about 5%, but they possessed that before the white man came there. That minority there in Argentina of indigenous and Negro Afro-Argentines who are Levites that have been scattered there, those are the Israelites that are down there, man. Now, Chile is abundantly with Israel. Uruguay is another country like Argentina that has been overpopulated by Edomite immigrants that came into those countries. And the minority there are the Israelite, indigenous, and/or Negro that were brought there in slavery. Right? But our people are still there. We have to understand that. And our people were originally there before the white man came. The indigenous peoples there, the Mapuche people, and things of that nature. So that's something that has to be understood. But as we can see here, who possesses the South Seas? The people of Argentina and Chile, the tribe of Naphtali, as it is prophesied through the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. Right? So I think that should be it. Is that the next slide? Yeah, that's it. All right. Hold on. So now, real quick, I guess Hassan, you can read me off some questions. We'll take questions. We'll take questions. But let me preface saying we'll take questions. We're taking questions in reference to the series. So don't ask me anything that's not pertinent to the information and the tribes spoken about over the course of all 6 parts of the Viva Yasharahla series. If it's not pertinent to Viva Yasharahla, don't ask me. All right, we're going to deal exclusively with that. We'll open up for regular questions, on another class. Well, hey, we have Chronicles class tomorrow. We can do it tomorrow. All right, but as for this Q&A, let's keep the Q&A in regards exclusively to the Viva Yasharahla series. You can ask about any of the information presented in any other parts, including this one, or anything pertinent to, or any further follow-ups you want on any of the information presented. All right, so let's make sure we stick on topic to Viva Yasharahla. Loosely, but there's no, of Viva Yasharahla has been no one that focuses predominantly on Puerto Rico.
What do you mean, Tiberius? Try to word that question a little bit different if you can.
Polynesians are the sons of Japheth, not Israelites. Japhites, original Europeans that were driven to the Isles of Polynesia, Micronesia, and Melanesia during the rise of the Edomite hostile and covert takeover of Europe, starting with the migrations to Anatolia, culminating in the Temenid dynasty of Alexander the Great and his father Philip of Macedon.
Have we found any video of dark natives?
That's an unintelligible question.
There weren't video cameras at the time.
I mean, and what do you mean dark natives? I'm not understanding that. There's dark natives today, so I don't get what you're asking.
As Gad and Reuben start to awaken more and more, will the spirit of war also grow?
It's likely, being that they're warriors, especially Gad. A troop shall overcome them, but they shall overcome at the last. With that in mind, I think Gad's going to be a last-second real wartime major wake-up for the tribe of Gad.
Weren't the original Greeks Japhites that got pushed to the islands?
Yes, as well said.
Who are the Eastern Indians?
They're the children of Elam, Shemitic people. If you would have watched the earlier installments of Viva Yasharahla, you would have got familiar with that. So y'all need to definitely make sure y'all go back and watch parts 1 through 5.
Y'all got questions, y'all better go ahead and ask.
Yeah, questions that are pertinent to the topic, The water to everyone who super chatted, how about Shem Yashar Brak a thumb? I wasn't watching the chat during the thing, so but you super chatted the water.
Are Alaskans natives?
Yes, the native Alaskans are native.
Have you ever heard of Chief Handsome Lake of South America?
No, I have not, Dolomite. Yeah, I didn't go into a lot of Simeon and Ephraim, so I went into Simeon though with Anacaona. I went into Simeon more than Ephraim. But in all honesty, this was focused predominantly on Issachar and Zebulon, and this one Asher. But mostly Issachar was, if you notice, Issachar was focused on a lot in this over the course of this series, and that's because Issachar is the tribe that gets the most hate from people who want to not make them Israelites the most. You see that mostly formulated against Issachar. So I made it a point to focus on Issachar a lot over the course of this series, to just totally dismantle the naysayers, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah. So that's why Issachar got focused on a lot. If we're gonna do further editions, we'll likely focus predominantly more on the Caribbean tribes and things of that nature. Because we focus a lot on Gad, Issachar, Zebulon, and now Asher. So I think it would be appropriate to deal with in further editions Ephraim, Manasseh, Simeon, even more on Reuben and Naphtali as well, because they got kind of talked about the least over the course of the series.
What tribe was in Haiti before the Levites arrived?
the tribe of Simeon. The tribe of Simeon is still in Haiti. Haiti is Simeon's name for the island. We calling it after that because Haiti is just a suburb of the tribe of Simeon. That's why we only have the western part, the western third. The majority of the island is still Simeon's land, right? The western third, that's just our suburbs. You know, Levi, we got suburbs and cities in each tribe. We got 12 cities in each tribe. So that's what Haiti is to us. And we're also elsewhere, Guadeloupe, Martinique, French Guiana, America, Canada, you know, Chile, we deep, Brazil, we all over the place. Suriname, you understand what I'm saying? We're all over the place through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shemiah Shai. That's got to be understood. So, but Haiti is the suburb of Simeon. That's Simeon's island. Cuba too. Don't let me forget Cuba.
Again, y'all, make sure these are questions
that are pertinent to the series. Again, pertinent to the series. I see people asking about Dan. When I talk about Dan in this series, I didn't. So don't ask me nothing about Dan right now. You gotta ask me about Dan in another Q&A. Keep it very pertinent to Viva Yasharahla. Because y'all gotta understand, this is not just a regular live class. This is something people are gonna be revisiting for a very express purpose later on. It's only but so many people watching now. It's thousands, most high willing, that's gonna watch later. So it's about the series. But go ahead, Salaki.
people from Barbados are what tribe?
Benjamin. The blacks that were imported to Barbados are Benjamin, i.e. Rihanna, i.e. Who is that famous Bayesian? Megan. I believe Megan Good is either Megan Good or Melissa Ford. One of them is from Barbados and one of them is from Bahamas. I think it's Melissa Ford.
Who did Gukumats resemble? I missed it.
Gukumats, it's the same thing as Kokokin or Quetzalcoatl, Yahweh. That's the Gukumats, or who the world calls Jesus Christ.
Is there anything in the diets of these empires that connects to the Bible?
I saw a few things, but I didn't do too much research on that. So maybe that's something that we can explore in further editions. But I certainly seen that in a few, especially with Gad and Gad's diet.
Yeah, especially with tribe Gad.
Gad's diet was very, very much in line with the kosher diet.
If you have questions, y'all better hurry up and ask them. What were the deities that North American natives worship, or are there parallels with their deities?
Yeah, you should have watched the rest of the series. We focus on the deities. There's not no one deity that the North American Indians worship. Each tribe had their own pantheon. Some did not have a pantheon. Some, like the Cherokee, they just had the Most High, which they called the Great Spirit. Some Native Americans, they just had the Great Spirit. Some had a pantheon of deities. So it differed. But we drew parallels in earlier editions, namely the one called Jesus in America and the Popol Vuh, or the Mayan Bible, which is part 3 and 4. Parts 3 and 4 kind of deal with the parallels between the deities. But most of all of them had a most high concept. Every nation of people in their pantheon do not have a concept of a supreme being. Some of them just have a collective kind of perspective on things. But of all the native tribes, you see the supreme being there. Just like all the West African tribes that we come from, you see the supreme being there. So the concept of the Most High is ever present, yet and still and reigning through. But go ahead.
Are there still full-blooded Mexicans around?
Of course, but it's not like that matters. You got nothing.
No. Yeah, make sure y'all are asking stuff that's pertinent to the lesson.
Pertinent to Viva Yasharahla series. Any other question we not dealing with?
Isaiah Yasharahla. Okay, that's not that. Where did the concept that Native Americans have Mongoloidism stem?
That stemmed from the scientific racism that was furthered by the Gutenberg Institute in Germany, right? So they came up with this idea that there's three races in the earth: Caucasoid, Negroid, and Mongoloid. And then from there you have the concept of the Varangian land bridge of the Bering Strait, that they believe Mongoloids crossed and came into the Americas. But they have no cultural, like we could do all these cultural parallels, right? We also could do phenotypic, scientific, anthropological um parallels as we've been doing over the course of the series between the indigenous peoples of the Americas and the Israelites. They can't do that with the indigenous peoples of the Americas and the Asians. They can't do that. So, but that's basically where it came from. But even now, if you we spoke about this briefly with Onk. I don't know if it made it to video, but when it was me, Onk, and Divine sitting down, if y'all look on Black News 102 with Sarnetta last month or a couple months ago, whatever, um, Onk even talked about how modern science, like up to date science, like 2019 science, is now rejecting that whole concept, and they believe people sailed in here. They sailed into the Americas from different places. So even now, the modern science model, due to the fact that how lack of evidence that exists in that whole Bering Strait Mongoloid crap, is now abandoning that whole thing and going away from that. But a lot of our people are living in the past as far as science goes, so they're not going to catch up to that.
Have you researched the Temple Mounds in North America made by the Indians?
Yes, certainly. All the various temple mounds, they were just natural pyramids that they were making. Um, Even in Peru, over the course of this research dealing with El Dorado, the Inca Empire, they got these pyramids, a whole land of vast mound pyramids, um, that the white man don't even got the guts to explore because the terrain is so treacherous to get to. Um, but yeah, certainly the temple mounds are important to understand. All right. With that, we're going to give all praise, honor, and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh. We do so in the name of His only begotten Son, who the world calls Christ, Yahweh Shai. We say shalom.
Shalom.